We have to understand, man, that brothers that are still blessed to have their fathers in their life, or brothers that were able to live to their 20s, 30s, 40s with their father in their life, man, that's a blessing, brother. I ain't gonna lie, man. Like sometimes I'll think and I'll say, man, like I can't even imagine what it would be like to be a grown man, paying my own bills, whatever, married, kids, dog, and being able to have my father to bounce ideas off of, to get advice from, and I wouldn't even know what that's like, brother. That seems like man, that's almost too good to be true. So you brothers are blessed that are in that situation. At the same time, man, you brothers have to be very cautious.
Who are we? We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are powerful beyond measure. We are creators of our own realities. We are immortal mind. Immortal mind.
Is it not written in your law that ye are God? Understand what I'm saying? This depends on.
You know what? There's a curse in expectation. And for some reason, I started thinking about this a few years ago. You know what I mean? I think I can speak for a lot of men that have gone through this, man. It's a very difficult thing to go through your life, mainly through your childhood, without a father in your life, right? And the thing is, it can be a challenge while you're going through it, but you really don't understand. You really don't understand how challenging it is or was until you're an older man and you're looking back at it, right? I've told a story 1,000,001 times. My father passed away when I was roughly 12 years old and things that took place, right? But I can easily say this, right? I have to give my pops credit first, right? Because somehow between the ages of 0 and 12-ish years old, man, he instills some stuff in me, brothers, that a lot of men, up in their 20s, 30s, and even 40s still don't know how to move in, right? When I was around 13, 14, whatever, after he was gone, like it was already instilled in me, brother, to get up, cut the grass, burn the trash, or throw the trash out. I was cleaning the house, cleaning up after myself, making sure the household was good. It was just me and my mom, and I was doing duties that were just already instilled in me. I was making sure mom's car was clean. I was just making sure that the manly duties were taken care of. And I'm telling you, a lot of men get up in their 20s and 30s, especially in this generation, this younger generation, and they still don't know how to move in that, man. So I can at least give my pops credit, like, brother, I don't know how you put all that in my mind at such a young age, but he did it, right? But when young men notice the challenge, is like when I think about 13 up through 18, 19, 20, 21, brother, like there were a lot of things I should have learned that I didn't learn until I was in my 20s. There were certain things about relationships and stuff that I should have known in my 20s and 30s that I didn't learn until I was, after 40 years old, right? So when I talk about the challenges, that's what I talk about, man. Like young men need to be around certain levels of masculinity in their teenage years. And yes, you can survive it, but brother, I'm telling you, a lot of times you're playing catch up. You're playing catch up, man. But at some point in time, like I said a few years ago, man, I started thinking about the pros of my father not being there. I'm not sure if it's Napoleon or Goddard or whoever said it. They said that, even in bad situations, like there's an equal amount of good in there somewhere if you find it, right? And brother, I realized a long time ago that I was free from expectation, man. And I'm telling you, brother, there's a curse in expectation if you aren't careful. I can remember, I think I was in the third grade. It was third grade because my teacher was Mrs. Maris, Latino, hot. She was bad, bro. Anyway, there was a brother that came into the, he transferred to the school. He came in late in the year. And this brother, man, they kind of gave us his whole spiel before he even came. Back in the days, they used to, tell, if a new student was coming, you got the whole rundown, right? And they were telling us that this brother was jumping around from foster home to foster home, and he was kind of wild, and that type of energy, right? And I can remember when the brother came. The thing is, at the time, this brother was really like a little badass kid, man. But I'm gonna tell you this brother always stayed in the highest of energies. He always stayed in, he was always smiling. But what seemed like disrespect and what probably could have been, when I look back at it now, man, it was really just a young man, a child actually, being free of any expectation. You know what I'm saying? Like, this brother didn't have his mother in his life. He didn't have his father in his life. So yeah, there are some negatives that come with that, man. There are some traumas going to be associated with that. But at the same time, brother, he's free from all expectation. So looking back, what seemed just like a little badass kid in a classroom was really just a young boy that was free of all expectation. You know what I'm saying? And if that's channeled right, if that's understood, a man can grow and develop and live his life completely different than he would have under the jurisdiction of parents, right? Going back to my situation, man, like my father was a pastor. My father was a strong man. He was a disciplinary. He was an alpha male. So in my mind, and this is what I was thinking about a few years ago, I think about the things that I talk about. I think about my beliefs. I think about, my patterns of spirituality. And I say, bro, like, I wonder if things would have been the same if my old man was still living. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I was in my 20s and when I finally, just stepped back from the church and started looking at life from a different angle, I say, man, I really wonder if I would have had the balls to do that if my father was still that reigning authority over me, man. Because, we all look at our fathers as superheroes. The pros, cons, everything, man. And I say, bro, like, I don't know. I think at some point I would have been here, but there probably would have been a line drawn in the sand. There probably would have been some static. There probably would have been some separation of the relationship between me and my father for me to even talk about the things that I talk about now. Because my father stood firm on his belief. You know what I mean? As far as like salvation and in heaven and hell and all that stuff, man, stuff that I look at now and say, bro, like that's not the answer for me. As far as my free spirituality, as far as me being able to look at, pretty much all religions and can extract a common denominator from all of them. But I don't think me and Pops could have had a sit down at the table and had conversation on that, man. So I say to myself, man, like there's a curse in expectation, brother. We have to understand, man, that brothers that are still blessed to have their fathers in their life, or brothers that were able to live through their 20s, 30s, 40s with their father in their life, man, that's a blessing, brother. I ain't gonna lie, man. Like, sometimes I'll think, and I'll say, man, like, I can't even imagine what it would be like to be a grown man, paying my own bills, whatever, married, kids, dog, and being able to have my father to bounce ideas off of, to get advice from. And I wouldn't even know what that's like, brother. That seems like, man, that's almost too good to be true. So you brothers are blessed that are in that situation. At the same time, man, you brothers have to be very cautious. You have to be very cautious, man, that you aren't really, following your father's footsteps too hard, right? And the reason I'm even making this video, man, is because I was reading The Way of the Superior Man, right? And he talks about this in chapter 3, man. The chapter is called Live as If Your Father Were Dead. And when I saw that, brother, I was like, whoa. Like that's heavy. Not only heavy, I said that's aligned with what I've been thinking the last few years, man. And it said this. It said, a man must love his father and yet be free of his father's expectations and criticisms in order to be a free man. I said, bro. I said, brother, that's all facts. But I don't think a man understands that unless he's been in a position where his father is not there. Unless he's been in a position to reflect on his life and say, you know what, would I have made these same decisions if Pops was still in the picture? You know what I'm saying? Like you have to see it as a blessing, of course, brother. But think about this. When you have that not only is there an expectation that keeps you kind of in a box your whole life because you don't want to step outside of what pop, but you got to think about this, man. To free yourself from your father, brother. If you don't mentally free yourself at some point, you'll tend to pick up not only the good, but you might pick up the toxic traits of your old man. You know what I'm saying? Your old man could have been a heavy smoker. And just because Pops did it, something in you will say, you know what, I know this ain't the healthiest of choices, but if Pops did it, it's okay. Pops might have been a heavy drinker. He could have been a heavy gambler. And you're like, man, I know that ain't the healthiest of traits for a man to have, but Pops did it. Pops did it, so it must be all to the good. Pops was in these streets, man, like a rolling stone. Pops had all these women, man, knowing mom was at the house, holding down the house. So I'm moving like that now. Knowing it's not the healthiest of ways, but you're saying, you know what? Pops did it. I'm telling you, man, like you have to free yourself from that expectation. There's a curse in that expectation. And this is a short chapter, man. The brother said, how would you have lived life? It says, how would you have lived your life differently if you had never tried to please your father? And I'm going to tell you this, brother. I realize, and I don't want to say the blessing of my father not being there because, brother, like I say, there's some challenges. But I understand now that I never had to go through that curse, man. Like I'm so thankful now that at a young age, I'm talking about 13, 14, 15, I was already looking at the world different. I already felt that freedom of expectation gone, man. So all I'm saying is this. You brothers that are still, that still have your fathers in your life, man, brother, that's a blessing. But be careful. Be careful that you're not following in your father's footsteps to the point where you're not even living your own life. You're not even living your own life. Because I can remember, man, even as a young man, in my 20s, I still wanted to follow my father's footprints. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember my father was in the army. Of course, this is before I was born. So when I decided to go to the military, it was a no-brainer. It's like I'm not even going to the Navy and to see what they talking about. Like Pops was in the army, I'm going to the army. I found out that Pops was a Freemason. I was like, that I'm gonna be a Freemason. I saw how Pop moved certain ways, and I started moving certain ways. And as I got older, those things that I remember from my Pops from a young age, once all those things were accomplished, but I had even more freedom to be me, to think how I want to think, to do what I want to think. You know what I'm saying? There's a freedom in it, brother. So all I'm saying is, brother, just be cautious of the curse of expectation. Be cautious of the curse from expectation. And it talks about the father in this book, but it can go either way. It can be a mother. There can be a curse of expectation from a mother. Even if it's not a mother, it can be an aunt or uncle. It can be a pastor. It can be anybody, man. Brothers, all I'm saying is this, because I'm always talking about freedom. And it's not about freedom from a career or freedom, financial freedom and all that stuff. Yeah, those things are good and it's things we should strive to. But when I talk about freedom, man, I'm talking about freedom to be yourself. That's the ultimate freedom, man. The freedom to get up and walk outside and say what you want to say, think what you want to think, be who you want to be. Brother, there's no greater freedom than that. And I go back to that young brother in Miss Maris's class, 3rd grade, man. And I wish I could think of that brother's name. I could still see his face. Just thinking about his energy now, man. Just his carefree energy, which, like I say, back then it seemed like he was a rebel or a little badass. But that brother was just living a life, even as a 3rd grader, of no expectation, man. And you see the world different. So all I'm saying is this, brothers. Be aware of the curse of expectation.